Learn Crypto Africa. We're back at it. It's just come straight out of the Miami 2023 conference. And I'm excited to be back sitting here in our podcast with Learn Crypto Africa, sponsored by Yellow Card. Thank you, Yellow Card. And I'm joined by my friend, Shabz. How are you doing, Shabz?
I'm all good. Glad
What
to
are we
see you
talking
back.
about today?
Well, we're going to cover a little bit of what you did on your trip in Miami and see what's going on in the world of crypto on that side. And I think we're going to cover a little bit of the Bitcoin Lightning Protocol.
Oh, yes, the ordinals, right?
Yeah. We're going to cover that. As well as ordinal, so that we're talking two different things.
Right. What have you been doing? You've been busy with students at universities. Yeah. I'm actually also very interested in that. You've been busy with university students. You've been educating. You've been doing amazing things. I've seen videos, students interacting with you. What has been your highlights in the past 2 weeks with regards to educating students?
It's been great to stand in front of the students and just get real feedback from the people that are using these products.
Right.
So we've reached out to a couple of universities and we've been teaching crypto, but more so also just spreading the word on the opportunity to be able to earn and increase your earnings through crypto. Some of the highlights is the enthusiasm that young people have to just learn and absorb knowledge when it comes to something new, especially new technology. I like the fact that they're hungry to make money, to help them pop bottles. They're hungry to make money. And yeah, I think that was a unique experience to actually get to hear from them. So it's been exciting. It's ongoing. We try to do it on a monthly basis.
Okay.
And we're getting there.
So you went to WITS.
So we were at
WITS University as well as the Princeton Students Village.
Yes.
What are the sort of the questions that come up frequently when you are educating?
I think we try and simplify things, right? We try and simplify things,
and
we try to relate things to existing structures.
Yes.
Right. So in covering that, I hope I did a good job,
right?
Because there's not.
No, you did. You had the audiences captivated. You could see that.
Yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate that. But some of the concerns that people have would be, when you're talking about the confidence in crypto, relating to the modern global infrastructure, comparing it to fiat currency. You know, what's the fiat currency backed by as opposed to cryptocurrency? And it's just breaking that down and showing them where that comes from.
It's actually the first time in the history of money that the average person or a layman like myself and you would be talking about the intricacies of finance, of in fact how the money is made and how the money is moved. Fiat currency has this characteristic about itself, so for being so elite that the subject is not touchable unless you're in Wall Street or you're in the big stock exchanges of the world, or unless you're government. It's the first time that we are as a human race talking about assets in the form of creating the assets, moving the assets, and storing the assets, which is an interesting thing. So I don't get too stressed out when they don't know where to start, because it sounds like a big thing to actually be talking about. But that's what crypto and decentralization is done. It's bringing in a critical mass of people that wouldn't otherwise talk about digital assets, let alone money and how it's made and how it's moved and stored, to now, hey, we need to be part of this. Let's get in. Let's get involved. Let's start talking about it. Let's get engaged. We are part of the crew.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. I think when you're going through a tough time, and I think this is quite a tough period of time
the bear
globally,
market, yes.
Right? There's a bear market within the crypto space, but also globally.
Economic,
when you're looking at
macroeconomic problems, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And when that happens, one needs to be able to find a way around it, right? And so these conversations come up. They might be at a dinner table. They might be, just, looking at somebody that works within that space in finance. But more so, because we are interconnected as a people now, you're starting to have these conversations on social media. We're starting to see them creep up more and more. Hence, students are talking about it, and they want to solve their own problems using different mechanisms. And that's where crypto comes in, and that's where we're able to have these conversations with confidence and to be able to leverage whatever is existing within this space to show them that it's not that foreign. Right. I think sometimes the incumbents try to make it seem so difficult that one cannot even, comprehend unless you're in that space. But it's not that difficult. You just got to know what the touch points are and what it is that you're trying to convey. Absolutely. And once you have that reference, it becomes a lot easier and less intimidating for anybody to be able to interact with cryptocurrency, knowing exactly what it is that they're doing.
And as Learn Crypto Africa, we've taken it upon ourselves to go out and educate. So we were just talking about this earlier on. With such a new subject matter, and once you take the burden upon yourself to educate, it's a long journey, it's a slow journey, and sometimes you don't have the sponsors to back you until they sort of realize the value. And to get to that value realization, you as the trainer needs to push yourself to a level that people are actually starting to see you. One of the things that are a big issue is that the delivery or the packaging of information around digital assets is very high-ended. One of my favorite people at the conference, the one that I just recently attended in Miami, the Bitcoin conference, is Michael Saylor.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of his method of educating about digital assets.
Yeah.
And he has the energy and the patience to sit through and educate timelessly and over again, talking about the same product and the same model. Probably just packaged in different ways. And he is so good at really putting it across in terms of why it is here and why it is important for us in the macroeconomic space, even microeconomic space, and why it's important for mass adoption to happen in the digital space. And we're not there yet, and we haven't not even made a dent. But we have to push. And in this continent, Africa, where usually things come in at the last and we take the crumbs of everything, I think that as Learn Crypto, we're under extreme pressure, Learn Crypto Africa, to really educate. And I'm so proud that you're one of those people. I'm so proud of that.
So first of all, I think it's a journey as well for me to be able to do that, to participate in such a way. Simply because I don't know everything, right? And in that's where you gain a lot more knowledge, and some questions that you get asked, you have to refer back, and just find out a little bit more.
I laugh. You say you don't know anything. For those crypto enthusiasts that don't really know Shabz, you're the person that actually introduced me to this entire thing back in, I think, 2014.
Yeah.
And all you spoke about was blockchain. I had already begun hearing about Bitcoin and so on.
Yeah.
So I used to always confuse blockchain with Bitcoin. I used to think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You would say, this is the platform on which Bitcoin is built. And you'd keep on reminding them, but when can I start buying blockchain? Like, no, not blockchain, you buy Bitcoin, not blockchain. And I just wanted to get in on the assets, and we're like, come on, get And you would always be, I'm about the use case, I'm about the platform, and so on. And I was so curious to the extent that I actually, when I was not speaking with you, I would go out and venture out and figure out what this thing is. So it's so weird when you say you don't know much about it. In fact, you know more about Bitcoin than many people that I know that are actually very vocal about Bitcoin and blockchain.
Yeah.
So please never say that you. I know that we're all learning about around about the same time, but you're a bit ahead of us.
It's a journey for all of us, you know. And I'm going to touch back on something that you said, you know, when it comes to sponsorship and people investing in education.
Yes.
Up until you get to a certain level. I think it's a chicken and egg situation.
Right.
It's a chicken and egg situation. And for me, it's about framing. Now more than ever, I realize that it's about framing, right?
Framing?
So framing your proposition, right? So what is it that you want people to be able to get out of what you're telling them, right? So if we talk about crypto, what is that one frame? So if you look at a picture, and the reason why it has a frame is so that you can focus on what's inside of it, right? And that's kind of what I do now for myself. Like, what is it that I'm trying to get the next person to focus on, to enable them to take the right actions, to be able to go forward and receive whatever benefits there are out there, right? And I think that's what we need to come back. We need to come back to when we look at the African population and what we're trying to do for them. Like, this continent has many infrastructure issues,
right?
And in that we have a solution or multiple solutions, depending on, you know, which protocol you're looking at or network you're looking at. We've got multiple solutions that can be able to assist us, right? It can, you know. When you look at inflations, for example, across the continent, you can be able to store your money in another asset that will not depreciate your value, right? That's what we actually talking about, giving people the opportunity to be able to earn and to be able to save at a rate that they wouldn't normally get associated to in their own respective territories, right? And that's what crypto is doing for them. So I think a lot has to come down to framing and being able to understand your market and what you are giving them the opportunity. So you're going to hear me talking a lot about opportunity and beliefs in the next couple of months, because for me, that this is a place where I've come to realization that it's so important for us to have the right mindset to be able to frame and then take the actions that are related to what we're trying to do. Then we see the benefits, right? So I just wanted to add that in there. But yeah, let's talk crypto.
Let's talk
crypto. Yeah.
As if that's not the only thing we ever talk about, Shabz.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we came across were these two books at the conference. One is from Bobby C. Lee, and that is The Promise of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Dubbed The Future of Money and How It Can Work for You. I actually got to meet Bobby C. Lee. He's a brilliant guy, and he's just an amazing soul, easy to reach out to, has a moment to talk to anyone and just discuss the book and his understanding and the basic principles about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
He's never lazy to share. Same thing with Michael Saylor, brilliant soul, easily accessible. You can just go up to Michael Saylor, greet him. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Yeah.
What's the situation? But be careful. If you ask Michael Saylor a question, each question in his head leads on to the next answer of a question that you did not ask.
Yeah.
So be ready to spend 30 minutes with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not a kind of guy that you meet and say, hey, how you doing? He's ready, willing, and able to have a full-on discussion with you at his own expense, because the man is tireless. So we sat for 2 hours just listening to him. That is in a conversation that was totally outside of the schedule within the Bitcoin conference. The second author that I have here is called Saifeddin Amos.
Yeah.
Right? He wrote The Bitcoin Standard, highly, highly appreciated in the crypto space. And this book, by the way, is also forwarded by my favorite, Michael Saylor. So these guys have been, whilst we were all masking away and looking for exercise solutions during the the COVID, they were busy writing books, and we appreciate them for the books that they've written. So there's a lot that we're still going to tap into with Learn Crypto Africa in terms of the information that is in these books. But I think for now, let's go into the ordinals. The ordinals was also a very big highlight within the conference. What's your take on ordinals and the Lightning Network?
Wow. Okay. Let's start with ordinals first, right? And I think a lot of people will remember the Bitcoin blockchain typically being used for normal transactions.
Peer-to-peer transactions.
Peer-to-peer transactions.
Right.
Right. And it's important that people realize what that use case was for, right? Because for many years, that blockchain protocol did not change. It wasn't used for anything else except that.
Yes.
Right? With ordinals, the ordinal protocols, what it has done is it's given a different use case for utilizing the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yeah.
Right? There's not a lot of things that were built on the main chain, right? And the ordinals are one of those things that has come through. So what ordinals are? So if you think one Bitcoin is 100 million Satoshis, right? So 100 million sats. So what they're proposing is basically with every sat that is created, right? One can be able to inscribe, right? A certain either image or a video or a text that goes with that ordinal, right? Which would be utilized within a block. So imagine there is a transaction and you have a sat, right, that is associated to that, which will get added into a block, right? Now you can utilize an image, right? So let's say an image of me, a digital image of myself. That
an
is
NFT.
NFT that is associated to that. It is slightly different from an NFT, right? In that when you're looking at ordinals are done on the main chain, right? So they're done on the main blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain. Whereas an NFT, which is also a digital asset, is done in an environment where you have your image or your video with the characteristics of that specific asset. It could be the location, it could be the size, the colors. Everything is hosted on one place, and it's that specific NFT is pointing to where that file is stored, right? So the difference here between the two is one is done on the blockchain, or it's done on the Bitcoin blockchain, and where the others are done separately. The file points to where the
Its
image
source.
or the certificate or the asset is sitting. So that's really the difference between the two. But they are similar because an image here is an image on the other side. You know, it's just a digital representation, which both can be able to do. Whereas this has been done on the blockchain solution. And this is actually probably the first time that, you know, due to, so just going back, in 2021, there was an upgrade that was done on the Bitcoin network. And that enabled the ordinal protocol to be designed and to be utilized. So Taproot was, and that's, we can talk about Taproot on another conversation that we have for our viewers' purposes so that they can get to know exactly what that was about. But what that enabled was the opportunity to be able to do this, to be able to create the ordinal protocol. So basically what it is the ability to be able to store a digital asset on the main chain. That's basically what you're looking at when you're talking about ordinals. Yeah.
Right. And then the Lightning Network.
So Lightning Network, I think that's the more exciting, the more exciting of the two. The don't shoot me. I'm just the messenger. I think that's the more exciting of the two development that has happened. And typically it's based on trying to get back to the original thought of why we created the Bitcoin blockchain. Right? So if you think of a Bitcoin, you obviously trying to solve one of three things. Right? It's either scalability, it's either security, or scalability, security, and help me out here. What's the third one?
Transferability.
Decentralization.
Decentralization.
Yeah? So transparency.
Yeah.
Right. So in those three, the Bitcoin network could only get two of those critical problems to solve. Right. So the security is there when you look at Bitcoin, and the decentralization is there, but they could never solve for scalability.
Right.
Simply because the blockchain wasn't built for that. So now,
is that got to do with the fact that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin mined?
No. So it has to do with the block size and the time that it takes for you to solve for that solution, right? If the block size gets too big, you have a problem, and if it takes too much time, you also have a problem, right? If you think about normal transactions at the moment, so if you do like a real world comparison to what's happening in the blockchain ecosystem, or at least Bitcoin network, what you realize is it takes 10 minutes for somebody to be able to do, or for the system to be able to process 7 transactions on the Bitcoin platform, right? So 7 transactions, it takes you 10 minutes, right? Whereas Visa can do anything between 50,000 to 65,000 transactions per second, right? So that's a world of difference.
Huge.
Right? And that's where we could never utilize Bitcoin as a transactional sort of mechanism, right? And
how does that translate to somebody who's pretty much on a wallet and trying to purchase Bitcoin, or somebody that is trying to build something, and they have to then log out of that wallet and go to another platform where they can find Ethereum and use that for utilities, converted to Tether, which I find very frustrating. How does that, are those two things interrelated or totally non?
Well, they are not. They are not, because this is giving you the ability to be able to transact using Bitcoin, right? Before, what people will do is you'll use other altcoins to be able to transact, because Bitcoin wasn't able to give you that. Bitcoin could give you the ability to store your value, right? So for investment purposes, you keep your Bitcoins, right? But for transaction purposes, you will change to what you're talking about. You'll change them to Ethers. You'll change them to, whatever altcoin to enable you to be able to do those sort of transactions. But now with the Lightning protocol, and we can get into exchanges, so how you can go from having a Bitcoin, moving it to an exchange and into something else, or from a Bitcoin into a wallet to something else, right? But what's brilliant about this is to be able to give you, as a Bitcoin holder, the ability to use your Bitcoin for individual transactions that are easy, that are fast, and that are day-to-day sort of usage. So what the Lightning protocol essentially has done is they've created they've created an off-chain solution that allows you to be able to do everything that you need to do in terms of a transaction without incurring the high fee cost that goes with a transaction on the main chain. So if you think of a main chain transaction, it could be anything from $10 to $20 if I had to send you money utilizing the Bitcoin network. So what Lightning Protocol has said is like, okay, if I had to do that multiple times, I'm incurring a lot more in terms of fees than I am in terms of what I actually just want to do. So I can't pay for a cup of coffee utilizing the Bitcoin network simply because the coffee, the fees will cost me a lot more, right? So they've come up with a brilliant way to be able to do this. So it's a multi-wallet that allows you and the person you're trying to interact with or send money to put your Bitcoin in there. What you are allowed to do on the Lightning Network is you can be able to create invoices or IOUs, right? That is recorded on this ledger, and you only get charged once when you do your recon at the end of a month or at the end of all your transactions, right? So if you think of it like a bar tab, right? So you go to a bar,
order your drinks and
you
pay
order your
later.
drinks. For every drink, if you had to swipe, you'll incur a fee,
A
right?
fee, right.
But if you run a tab at the
you
end of the
pay
night,
once.
you pay once, and there's only one fee
Yes.
associated to that. So it's in a similar manner. So they record every single transaction that is happening. So your IOUs or your invoices that the bartender records, but at the end of it, then you only then get charged for it, right? So, which now brings the fee down, and because it has an existing infrastructure, it allows you to be able to do this as fast as lightning. You know, calling the name back. You know, so it's very quick. It's easy once you've set it up, and it's linked to wallets. There's different wallets that you can use to be able to do that.
And then it takes us back to adoption, taking us back to education. So with every new product in this beautiful space called blockchain, there's always going to be the adoption gap. And with the adoption gap comes the educational gap. So, which is the reason that we exist, which is Learn Crypto Africa. So we are trying to make sure that all the new products that we believe in, first of all, we believe in the digital asset. We believe in Bitcoin. We believe in things that solve world problems. Somebody brought it, mentions, oh man, I'm not going to say somebody. I'm going to say the guy's name, Michael Saylor. Somebody asked
Name
me,
drop.
it's not even a name drop. I'm in such awe of his vast knowledge. And and just on such a wide subject where digital assets are concerned. But somebody asked him, Michael, would you be interested in doing A, B, C, and D with us? And the response was, what world problem is it going to solve? And then the gentleman retracted because it didn't really, whatever his product had, wasn't really going to solve a world problem. It was going to solve a company problem and an individual problem. So the guy retreated, which is a very good thing. It's like, okay, if you want funding from me, what problem are you going to solve? And I suppose that the big whales and the big companies are looking at what world problems can we solve. We are looking at what are my individual problems right now. So at individual level, we're looking at means and ways to store our either retirement fund, student study future capital, or business capital. That is at immediate level. But on the broader scale, people are looking at what big problems can we solve. So if this protocol has solved something that is a huge issue like speed and accessibility and transferability, then it has done a good thing, right?
Absolutely. I think when you look at what it's been able to do, and it's been proven to be working, and people can argue, its implementation, all over the world. But the one case that everybody points to, and it is working, right, is El Salvador. in South
El
America,
Salvador, yeah.
right? The fact that they're using it,
Yes.
right? So they moved away from fiat currency and they're using Bitcoin
They are
for normal
definitely, yes.
day-to-day transactions, right?
Absolutely.
And that is based mainly on the Lightning protocol. So it is working. You are able to pay somebody, and this happens immediately, simply because the protocol is not running every single transaction through the main chain. So it's faster, and it costs a fraction of what it would, even when you compare it to your normal day-to-day transactions, which is what they've been able to do so well. So it's fast, it's efficient, and it's cheap. You know, I think when it comes to global adoption, you know, because it's set up in such a way that one would need a wallet, and a wallet are obviously digital. It would need the infrastructure, which is a smartphone.
Right.
You know, so adoption will catch up at some point, but it's 10 steps in the right direction. You know?
Absolutely.
And I think that does a lot for our continent when we sit and think about what's happening. Because think about it. If I'm using Bitcoin to be able to do peer-to-peer transactions, I don't need dollars for me to go into another African state,
Yeah.
you know, and convert. You know, I don't need a local currency to go to Namibia.
Yes.
I no longer have to do that.
Yes.
Right? I can just get my Bitcoin, utilize a wallet that accepts the Lightning protocol, and then I can transact. It's as easy as that.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's probably the most scary thing that will intimidate any government, because
Right.
you know, this thing that we've been talking about, you know, in the space is actually becoming a reality. It's actually getting to that level where mass adoption is just around the corner.
And I think that the people that I admire the most are those that can take this complex subject matter and really break it down and package it into nice digestible sizes for people that have never come across this information, or have come across the information but just don't know how to decipher it in their minds. So I think one of the things that I really appreciate about you is how you're able to just break things down logically and help especially students understand. What I've also found is that there's a lot of people that are in big decision-making positions, your bankers, your financiers, your government, and individuals in various businesses, who actually truly do not understand the blockchain technology, let alone cryptocurrency. Therefore, we've got a bigger problem there, because those decision makers would really be the people that would help us to catapult this mission forward, and probably even shorten the bear market periods. I believe that. But with them taking that long to understand and ultimately adopt the protocols is a problem for us. So we've got a huge task at our hands.
We do. But also, one of the things that one has to remember, you know, I mentioned something earlier, framing, you know, what's in it for them. You know, we got to get to a point where we know how to sell it to them. You know, there has to be a level of incentive for them to get that buy-in. You know, and that conversation is a long, drawn-out conversation. Because they want to stay relevant.
So there's two things that have got to happen with the educators. One, we got to either be bullish and say, this is here, it's here to stay, it's not going anywhere. You hop on or you get left out. Or we bearish, we say, we desperately need you to come on board. This is ultimately going to be for your benefit.
I think once innovation has been let out, right, you can't put it back into a bottle. It's out. It's there, right? So it's going to take some time for them to be able to adopt it. But you know, there's something that somebody said to me. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. He said, disruptions follows innovation. Right? And I was like,
Or not the other way around.
the other way around?
Yeah.
No. Disruption follows innovation. I was thinking about it, and he now had to explain it to me. And he said, you know what? Every time you innovate, right, you're going to hit a roadblock, or you're going to hit a problem, or there's going to be something that will try and halt you, right? Because that exists, that's your disruption, right? Because that exists, you now have to push through and see how you solve for that problem, right? When you do that, that's when you actually plateau and you have whatever it is whatever outcome it is that you want, right? So I think we're getting to that point where before Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies were just ignored. We were the guys down the road who were just making a noise about something that nobody understood,
Right.
And then they're like, maybe let's slap one or two of them, and then they'll go away. Now they're trying to close, they're trying to close down like various institutions, that are operating within the space.
Yes.
So because we're at this stage, we understand this is the disruption now.
This is the disruption.
This is the disruption now. And now is our opportunity to be able to prove that this actually worked. And it couldn't have come at a better stage. My apologies, I'm going on here, but this couldn't have come at a better stage because Bitcoin is a proven technology that has stood the test of time, right? Now we're looking at this main chain and saying, well, because it stood the test of time, how do we build something on it, right? That will be able to benefit other people in the long run,
right?
Which is something that we hadn't done before. We had to create Ethereum. There were all these other solutions that were coming from the original idea of what was meant to be done. But now we realize, well, we've actually got a solid solution. It's secure. It's decentralized. It stood the test of time. How do we now build on top of this to be able to do what we want to do, everyday transactions?
Absolutely.
And this has just come at the perfect time.
Perfect timing. And in part of the navigating around how you can disrupt following innovation, there's some things that are really good which don't really have the face of innovation in it. So pizza and crypto is something that was coined by Yellow Card, where we're like, okay, we're out there, we're doing seminars, we are doing webinars, we're speaking to students, we're sending out messages, but we're still just not getting the attention that we desire from them. So what's the next best thing? So students really love pizza. So if I'm not going to lure you to come and sit and talk to me or have me discuss this matter with you, then I'm going to find something that you love. So with kids, it's in gaming. How do people go into to the minds of kids? It's through cartoons, it's through gaming. How do we go through to women and speak to women? It's through beauty products without sort of boxing us in too much. It's through beauty products. It's through cleaning products in the past, and it has evolved. It used to be only purely cleaning products. Now it's evolved into beauty products. If you wanna hide something, if you wanna send a message to a black woman, put it in the weave, and she sure will find it. I'm joking. So if you want to get through to students, put it in the pizza box and you sure will get the attention that you desire.
And that's funny because once you've set up the right sort of environment, it's a lot easier for you to be able to engage with people. Right? The environment is so important to be able to send your message across.
Absolutely.
And I think Yellow Card and Learn Crypto has really done that. And we can see the impact that we're making on the ground with all these different events that we're having. And yes, there's still a little bit of education that goes along with that. But more so what you're seeing is people are starting to realize the value.
Right.
You know? And that's where we need to be cognizant
Yes.
and put our value proposition forward. You know?
And sometimes we don't have the strength and the might of an Elon Musk that when he launches a brand new product, it's automatically going to go towards solving the world problems.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you solve problems at an individual level, it starts a ripple effect that can be copied and pasted by other individuals, and you can still solve world problems. Because when you're solving world problems or problems at an individual level, you yourself are pulling yourself against the back of poverty, whatever, or you're building a business that is then going to employ people, or you're building a product that is going to create better health for people. So whether you're coming in from the top or the bottom, as long as you're solving a problem, it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy and excited for the relationship that exists between Yellow Card and Learn Crypto Africa. I think we're on a good pathway towards solving problems.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we do. I think we do that very well.
And we have a lot of topics to talk about, but time limits us. So we're going to keep on breaking down the topics into small, biteable sizes so that we're not overwhelming ourselves as well. I think that with the Crypto and Pizza program that we're running at the moment, I'm very excited to see the numbers that have come up. Yeah. And I'm so excited to see how they really warming up to your method of imparting your knowledge.
No, I think if something is relatable and it speaks to the individual, then they'll listen and, you know, they'll be able to interact with you. They'll give you a lot of input, you know, and you just take that knowledge and you incorporate it in what you see next, and then you move forward. So it's a great opportunity for me as well.
Absolutely. And it is a very critical thing that we living in this century right now need to apply ourselves to, which is understanding digital assets and understanding where they can fit into our world in terms of how we are interacting and saving or utilizing our financial assets or our financial well-being. And in as much as it can be overwhelming and sort of, what do you call it? What's the word? Intimidating to, first of all, just even ask information about it. I would implore everybody to just go out and try and get as much information as you possibly can, or sit in and listen to the podcasts that will help you get there quicker, and so that you too can start understanding the digital world or the digital asset world, which is where we are playing and we love it. Yep. This farm has been actually obtained through the support of digital assets. Yeah. And I say to people, you know, we must be truthful and honest about how valuable this product has been for
Absolutely.
us. And it's upon us to actually share the good stories and share the opportunities that lie within the blockchain technology.
Oh, absolutely. I think, you know, if one had to think about it logically, everything is going digital.
Everything.
And one of the most important things that we as modern people interact with is money. So when you put it like that, it gives people the incentives to know exactly how their money will work for them and how it can be used and how they can be able to benefit going into the future. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Shabz. As usual, it's been such a wonderful pleasure. And I look forward to the very next session that we have, where we'll be talking more about the contents of these two books, The Promise of Bitcoin by Bobby C. Lee and Saifedean Amos, the Bitcoin Standard. We're excited about talking to that. So if you get a moment, go out and check it out on the internet, and then we'll come back and we'll be chatting about that. So I'm excited to more conversations. We also got a brand new ambassador project called Money Moves, which we'll be sharing with you in the very near future. And I know you're going to be excited about that. So please stick around. Learn Crypto Africa on Homegrown Radio.
Thank you, guys. Cheers. See you next time.